Hi guys, today we're going to work on bringing in a character from Mixamo, rigging it, bringing it into Unreal, and then having some fun with arrays, animations, and materials. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a rigged avatar from Mixamo. This is Tyler, who I found on mixamo.com. So there's Tyler. And I'm going to go ahead and characterize the hips. So I'm going to drag that over. All right, great. And because all characters get renamed to character, and I find that confusing, I'm going to rename this so I don't get confused. I'm then going to bring in some motion capture data that I have. I was just trying to find something with a lot of movement. So this is from a shoot I did about a year ago with the extremely talented Lehuhani. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and characterize the hips. And I'll just rename this for good practice. So Tyler, the input type will be character. The input source will be my dancing avatar. If I select active, I can preview this. And that looks pretty good to me. And I'll go ahead and plot the character. And we're going to bake the animation from input character to skeleton. I'll go ahead and plot. And we'll do file, save as, and I'm going to say Tyler dancing machine. And we're going to save this as an FBX. Okay, great. And this take one, this is just a T-pose, which I don't care about. I just want this nice choreography, so I'll go ahead and save this. That's all I'm going to do in Motion Builder. So now I'm going to go into Unreal. And the first thing I'm going to do is stay organized, so I will have an avatar folder. And if I go into downloads, even though we're only importing one animation file, we'll follow proper protocol. We're going to bring in the skeletal mesh first. And so we're not bringing any animations, just the skeletal mesh of Tyler. And again, you don't want to bring in a skeletal mesh for every animation because then you're going to have multiple hair materials, multiple hair textures, this creepy face. And I don't need this any more than I already do. So I'm going to go ahead and import the animations. We call that Tyler Dancing Machine. I will not re-import the mesh, and we are automatically using our rig skeleton. So we can bring that in. And the first thing I like to do when I bring in an animation, especially one that came from a motion capture studio, is I want to edit out the T-pose. It was very helpful for the motion builder step, but I no longer need it and it's kind of silly. So I'm going to wait until they're in place and ready to go. And right about here, I think the next frame. Okay, so there's where that heel pop. So I'm going to just get rid of all the frames before this. Okay, great. So now I have an animation that just starts with the dance as opposed to an animation that starts in the T-pose. And you'll notice the asterisk here, that means it's unsaved, so we just hit save all, and we're going to save everything, and now it's saved. Great. And we should just go ahead and save current. We have to assign this a new level, so we'll call this the dancing level. Now we're good to go. So I'm going to make two actor blueprints today. So previously we've worked on level blueprints, and actor blueprints are a great way to encapsulate data that you want to use over and over and over again. So I'm going to, and there's my dancing level right there. So I'm going to make a blueprints folder, and I'm going to create an actor blueprint. Unreal naming conventions, you want to name all blueprints starting with BP underscore. So the first thing I'm going to create is a light. So my blueprint, my actor blueprint, we start with this viewport and we can add different components. So the first component I'm going to add is a point light. So I have this point light, and what I'm looking for is that when my dancing Tyler crosses the light, wherever I put it in the space, I want the light to turn on. So in order for Tyler and our point light to have some sort of collision, I'm going to wrap both of them in a collision box. So I'm going to add a box collision. So now I have this box. And so whenever he crosses this imaginary box, the light will go on. And I want to bring this up a little. I'm going to bring the point light up a little. Okay, good. So if I go into my event graph, I'm going to get rid of this. If I select my point light in components, just like selecting a point light in the world outliner, I can have access to the functions. But what I really want is I want the events on this box. So under collision, I have add on component begin overlap. So when something overlaps with the box, this will be triggered. And what I want to do is I'm going to bring out the point light, and I want to set the light color. Nope. So when someone crosses over the box, the light is going to turn some color. So I'm going to split this up, and I'm going to give it a random float between 0 and 1. Now I need to have 3 different random floats, because if I give it the same random float, I will just have different shades of gray, which is pretty boring. So we're controlling the red, green, and blue channels. This is our alpha channel. We don't really need to worry about that. And now I have a point light where if I cross this invisible box, it will change the light from white, which is its default state, to some random color. I like it. I'm going to create one more blueprint class, and this will be for Tyler. So we're going to bring Tyler in, and I can't just type in Tyler. I need to bring in a skeletal mesh. And then I can select which mesh I want. So we're going to use Tyler. And Tyler's not dancing, so we have this animation panel right here. I'm going to use, I don't want to use an animation blueprint. I'm going to use an animation asset, which is our dancing machine. Awesome. So I mentioned earlier, for Tyler to cross this invisible box, we also need to add some sort of collision onto him. So I'm going to add a capsule. So we have this capsule collision, but I don't want it just staying stuck in the middle. I want this actually attached to him. So we have the sockets right here, and you will notice that the capsule is under skeletal mesh. It is a child of the skeletal mesh. And under sockets, what I can do is I can say which socket or bone to attach this to. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this to his left foot. So now the capsule is on his left foot. So whenever his left foot crosses the box around the light is going to turn on. So let's try that. I'm going to bring out, so there's my light. It's a little low, so in my light blueprint, I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. And now it's up a little higher. And then I'm going to bring in Tyler, make sure I position him somewhere so he will definitely cross this box. And if I hit play, he already crossed it. So every time he's crossing this little box, it changes the color of the light. Great. So let's set this up. Let's have a bunch of tilers. Which way am I going to look at this? All right, so I want a whole slew of tilers and lights. So let's start with 3. Tiler, and a light, and a tiler, and then maybe a few more lights. Bunch of lights, couple tilers. One thing I'm going to do is, because I don't want to have to change my view every time, is if I click on player start, I can pilot the player start, and so now wherever I go, this is where the player start is going to happen, so I don't have to refocus every time. I don't know. That's nice. Yeah, right there. Okay. So stop piloting. My game start is now here. So even if I'm in some weird place, when I hit play, I'm seeing it from this view. So it crossed, it changed the light, and then goes back. And let's see if I put it further enough. Oh, so close. Okay, so we're going to move these lights just a little closer. All right, one more time. These 2 lights. There we go. And let's see if they hit these back lights. Great. So all the lights are lit up in this funny little configuration. So what I'm looking for is I want to add more tilers, and I want them to spawn where my current tilers are, and I want a whole mess of them. So this is where I'm going to use my level blueprint. So actor blueprints are great to sort of encapsulate a whole system, and then my level blueprints can be used to gather all of the individual actor blueprints floating in a level. So save this. So I'm going to open my blueprint here. I am going to use event begin play. So I want to get all of the tilers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say get all actors of class. And the class is going to be tiler. Particularly the tiler blueprint. So I want to get, and what is going to happen is when I hit play, it's going to go through my world outliner. Anything that's an instance of a BP tiler will be gathered into this array of actors. I'm going to go through each of these tilers and add 5 more tilers to where they're currently standing. So I'm going to use a for each loop. And for each tiler, we're going to make a bunch more tilers. Now to create new tilers, we're going to spawn actor from class. So I'm going to make a new tiler. So we can spawn particle systems, we can spawn meshes, we can spawn blueprints, all sorts of things, but we're, in this case, going to spawn dancing tilers, particularly dancing tilers from this blueprint, which have the capsule on that left foot. And if we did do anything in the event graph, this new tiler would have that functionality built in. So we need to say where to spawn our tiler. So what we're going to do is take our tiler and get the actor transform, line this up, and go ahead and say we're spawning it where our current tiler is. Okay, so when I hit play, you can't tell because they're all in the same exact spot, but I have all of these tilers. So what might be nice is that they're not all dancing at the same time. If I have one dance and then another and then another and then another. So to do that, I'm going to utilize the play rate property. So I'm going to have Tyler start not dancing. So if I go into the animation, the play rate right now is 1, which is the default setting. If I set this to 0, we're effectively pausing him. So I'm going to, once again, gather all the tilers, so get all actors of class. So the first time I did this, we had 3 tilers, because 1, 2, 3. And now, because I added 5 tilers to each of the pre-existing tilers, I'll have 18 of them. And what I want to do is I want to go through each tiler and set the play rate to 1. So for each, I'm going to set the play rate, which I cannot do, so I can't set the play rate on this blueprint because it doesn't understand how this blueprint has a play rate. The skeletal mesh is what has the play rate. So from our blueprint tiler, I need to get the component, and the component that I need to get is the skeletal mesh. So I'm iterating through these blueprint tiler, and I'm getting the skeletal mesh component, which has our play rate property. So from here, now I can set the play rate. And I'm going to set the play rate to 1. Now the problem with this, which we'll see in a second, is that it didn't work. Because I didn't attach this. There we go. The other problem is that they're all having the play rate set to 1 at the same time. So when I loop through all of these tilers, I need some sort of delay built in. So if I double click on my for each loop, this is called a macro. And I need to create my own macro that has a delay. So I'm going to copy this because we do not want to mess up the original for each loop. Really bad idea. So I'm going to copy this macro, and I'm going to make a new macro. And I'll call this for each loop delay. And I'm going to paste that in. Wonderful. The one pain is it does not copy inputs or outputs. We have to redo those. So let's do that really quick. If we look at the inputs, we have an exec pin, and then we have an array of wildcard. So we have a pin, and we have an array. And this could be an array of anything, theoretically. So we're going to set this to a wildcard, and to make this variable a container, we just click that. So now the array is a container. This pin goes here, and this pin, whoops, goes here, and it also goes over here. Okay, we have an output pin, and our output has the loop body, the array element, not the whole array, just the array element, array index, and if it was completed. So while we're not going to use all these, we'll just go ahead and do it. So loop body, the array element, which is a wildcard, the array index, which is an integer, and completed. And just make sure, so this goes here, there, the local integer, and false. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Great, so what we need to do is we're looping through all of our tilers, and I want to loop through a tiler, wait a minute, not a minute, but some unit of time, iterate a tiler, wait a unit of time, so we need a delay. And the default is 0.2 seconds, and we'll just give that a shot. So I'm going to move this here, and then this can go back. Oh, actually what I'm going to do is use a sequence. So this one will go to its original pin, and we're going to add one more output. So we're not going to actually change any of the original functionality, we're just adding functionality. So we'll call this loop delay, and we'll send this to loop delay. So this is my pin that will give me a bang after every 0.2 seconds. All right. That looks pretty good. So if I go back to my event graph, instead of this for each loop, I'm going to use a for each loop with delay. So I'll just bring that in. And we'll use this loop delay and our element. And I'm going to compile and save. And let's give this a shot. And now I have all of these tilers doing this wonderful weird dance with the flashing lights, so it's a full-on discotheque. And we can get a little closer. And it's very weird and very trippy, and I really enjoy this. And we have our changing lights. So remember, every single tiler has a capsule on its left foot, and when the left foot crosses that light, which has a box around it, our collision box, it's changing to a different random color. All right, really weird, really wonderful. And I do not want to restart. So the final thing is just a little aesthetics. I'm going to change the lighting a little bit. And where's my light source? So let's change the lighting. Let's make this a little moodier. I think we can do better than that. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. And I also want this floor to have something. This like null pattern isn't really working for me. So I need to create a material. So I'm going to make a new folder and call this materials. And we'll make a new material. So M for material. So if I open up my material, I have all these different options to create a unique material. So the first thing I want to do is make a base color. So if I hold the 3 key and left click, I get this vector and I get a color picker. So we can pick a color, maybe like a fun pink. And we'll put this into our base color. And now we have this pink, and we can see how that looks. And there's a few other options that we can play around with. For example, we can add a scalar to our roughness, which controls how rough the material or smooth it looks. So we're going to need a constant. So if I hold the 1 key and left click and add this into roughness, and now we have this very marble-like texture. And this is something I now, if I select my floor and find my materials, there we go, I can drag this over here. And my shaders are compiling. Let's save this. And I have this very fun glossy pink floor, which is pretty fun. Another thing I can do is I can add to the emissive color. So it controls my material glowing. And how I affect this is I'm actually going to multiply my break color with a scalar. So again, 1, I'm holding my 1 key, left click, and let's give this a larger number, maybe like 25. So roughness was from 0 to 1. Emissive color can go much higher, and we're going to multiply this together. So I'm going to take my base color and 25 and put this into emissive color. And I'm going to have this really lovely glowing pink. And of course I could up this up even more. And now I have this crazy glowing pink color. Which I might need to rebuild my lighting here, but a fun option. I also could add to metallic. So again, this is controlling how metal-like your material looks. And this is going to take a scalar as well. So I'll put the base color back in, and I'm going to add a scalar and put this into metallic. And so if we make this a 1, I now have this very metallic looking material to play with. So we can build, oh, there we go. Everything's built. I have this crazy metallic floor, and my dancing tilers, and my changing lights. So that's a goofy tutorial on adding animations to a Mixamo character, importing it, using arrays, using actor blueprints, using customized macros and materials to create a very strange disco dance party. So I hope you guys liked it.